Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel where we bring you the most fascinating stories of real-life legends. Stories that teach you powerful lessons, expand your mind, and help you learn English naturally. Today, I am going to tell you about a boy who understood money before he understood anything else. A boy who bought his first stock at the age of 11. A boy who filed his first tax return at 13. A boy who was so focused on numbers, on saving, and on building wealth that some people thought he was strange. But that boy did not care. He had a passion, a genius, for something called investing. And he would turn that passion into a fortune so vast that he became known as the Oracle of Omaha, the greatest investor who has ever lived. His name is Warren Buffett. How did a quiet, bespectacled boy from the American Midwest become one of the richest men in the history of the world? How did he build a company, Berkshire Hathaway, that is now worth hundreds of billions of dollars? And what are the simple, timeless secrets behind his incredible success? This is not a story of fast cars, fancy technology, or wild risks. It is a story of patience, discipline, and the magic of something called compound interest. It is a story that proves you do not need to be born rich to become wealthy. You just need the right habits. And as always, this story is a powerful way to improve your English. You will learn vocabulary about finance, investing, and economics. Words like stock, share, dividend, value investing, and margin of safety. You will hear about the habits that made one man a legend. So, get comfortable and let us begin from the very start. Warren Edward Buffett was born on August 30th, 1930, in Omaha, Nebraska, a quiet city in the heart of the United States. His father, Howard Buffett, was a stockbroker and later a conservative congressman. His mother, Layla, was a homemaker. They were a middle-class family, struggling like many others during the Great Depression. Even as a very young child, Warren was different. He was not just interested in toys or games. He was fascinated by numbers. He would spend hours adding up license plate numbers, calculating the lifespan of a baseball card, or memorizing the populations of cities. His mind was a calculator. But the defining moment of his childhood came when he was just 7 years old. He borrowed a book from the Omaha Public Library. The book was called 1,000 Ways to Make $1,000. It was filled with stories of entrepreneurs, of people who started with nothing and built fortunes. Little Warren read that book until the pages were worn. And it planted a seed in his brain. He wanted to make money. Not to buy fancy things, but because he saw it as a game, a scorecard. He started his first business ventures very early. He went door to door selling chewing gum. He sold Coca-Cola bottles. When he was just 11 years old, he made a decision that changed his life. He took all the money he had saved and bought his first stock. He bought 3 shares of a company called City Service Preferred. The price went down. He felt terrible. But he held on. When the price finally went up, he sold it for a small profit. Then, the stock price shot up even further. He learned 2 valuable lessons that day. 1, don't panic when the price drops. And 2, don't sell a good company too early. His entrepreneurial spirit exploded in his teenage years. He delivered newspapers, sometimes hundreds of them, and he was so good at it that he made more money than his teachers. He and a friend bought old pinball machines, repaired them, and placed them in barbershops. They took a share of the coins. Soon, they had several machines, and a steady stream of money was flowing in. Warren filed his first income tax return at the age of 13. He was already a businessman. He graduated from high school and then studied at the University of Nebraska. He was still the same quiet, focused boy, but his financial mind was sharpening. He applied to Harvard Business School, the most prestigious program in the world. He was interviewed, and he was rejected. It was a sting. But Warren did not crumble. He researched other schools and discovered that the two men he admired most in the investment world, Benjamin Graham and David Dodd, were teaching at Columbia Business School in New York. He applied there and was accepted. That rejection from Harvard was a blessing in disguise. Benjamin Graham was the father of value investing. He wrote a book called The Intelligent Investor, which Buffett considers the greatest investment book ever written. Graham taught a philosophy that was both simple and revolutionary. He said that you should not think of a stock as a piece of paper that jumps up and down in price. You should think of it as a small piece of ownership in a real business. If you can buy $1's worth of value for 50 cents, you have a margin of safety. You are protected against the unknown. The market is like a manic-depressive man named Mr. Market. Sometimes he is wildly optimistic and offers to sell you shares at a very high price. Other times he is deeply depressed and offers you the same shares for practically nothing. Your job is not to be swayed by Mr. Market's moods, but to take advantage of them when he is being foolish. This philosophy became the bedrock of Buffett's entire career. Warren was the only student in Graham's class to ever receive an A+. He absorbed everything like a sponge. After graduating, he worked for Graham's investment firm in New York. But Graham was ready to retire. So, Warren returned to Omaha. He was 25 years old. He gathered money from family and friends, about $105,000 in total, and started an investment partnership. He put in only $100 of his own money. He made a promise to his partners: "I will treat your money like my own, and I will share in the profits, but also in the losses." The Buffett partnership was a masterpiece of consistent returns. Year after year, Warren's investments grew, often by 20 or 30%. He did not chase hot tips. He bought boring, wonderful businesses that were trading for less than they were worth. He bought a company that made windmill parts. He bought a struggling map company. He looked for companies with a moat, a competitive advantage that protected them from rivals, like a strong brand name or a unique product. He compounded the money. And compounding is magic. It means your profits generate more profits, like a snowball rolling down a hill, getting bigger and bigger. In 1962, Warren made a fateful investment. He began buying shares of a dying textile mill in Massachusetts called Berkshire Hathaway. The mill was struggling. The American textile industry was being destroyed by cheap foreign competition. But Buffett, ever the bargain hunter, saw that the company was selling for less than the value of its machinery and buildings. He planned to make a quick profit and get out. He met with the manager of the mill, Seabury Stanton. They agreed on a price for Buffett to sell his shares back to the company. But when the formal letter came, Stanton offered 1/4 of a point less than they had verbally agreed upon. Warren was furious. The pettiness of that small difference enraged him. So, in a move of spite, he did not sell. Instead, he kept buying until he gained control of the company. He fired Stanton. It was a terrible business decision made out of anger for a dying textile mill. He later called it his worst mistake. But he turned that mistake into an empire. He kept the name Berkshire Hathaway and slowly transformed it from a textile maker into an investment vehicle, a holding company that owned other businesses. Over the following decades, Warren Buffett used Berkshire Hathaway to buy wonderful companies. He bought See's Candies, a California chocolate maker with enormous customer loyalty. He bought Geico, a direct-to-consumer auto insurance company that saved customers money. He bought the entire Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad, a massive network of trains. He invested in Coca-Cola, in American Express, and, much later, in Apple. Each investment followed the same simple principles. He was not trying to be clever. He was trying to be right. He famously said, "It is far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price." In 1959, a friend introduced Warren to another man who would become his most important partner. His name was Charlie Munger. Charlie was also from Omaha, a brilliant lawyer and a deep, witty thinker. They became inseparable professionally. Charlie brought a slightly different dimension to Buffett's value investing. It was Charlie who pushed Warren to focus on the quality of the business, even if it meant paying a slightly higher price. Their partnership at Berkshire Hathaway is legendary. At the annual shareholder meetings known as Woodstock for Capitalists, thousands of people from all over the world traveled to Omaha to sit in a stadium and listen to Warren and Charlie answer questions for hours. They are the perfect pair: Warren, the folksy, optimistic teacher; Charlie, the sharp, sarcastic critic. Their combined wisdom has shaped the minds of millions of investors. Despite his immense wealth, which has made him the richest man in the world many times over, Warren Buffett is famously frugal. He lives in the same gray stucco house in Omaha that he bought in 1958 for $31,500. He drives himself to work in a modest car. He starts every morning at a McDonald's drive-thru. His breakfast depends on the market. If the market is down, he orders a cheaper sandwich. If it is up, he might order a more expensive one. This is not a man who spends money on yachts or private islands. He finds joy in his work, in reading, in playing bridge, and in the simple act of thinking. He reads constantly. He spends about 80% of his day reading. 5 or 6 hours a day just reading. Annual reports, newspapers, books. He believes that knowledge accumulates like compound interest. He once said, "The most important investment you can make is in yourself." One of his most famous character traits is his patience. During the dot-com bubble of the late 1990s, technology stocks were soaring. Companies with no profits, just websites and ideas, were worth billions. Everyone said Buffett was a dinosaur. He was criticized for not understanding the new economy. He refused to invest in what he did not understand. And when the bubble burst and those companies collapsed, Buffett was safe. His discipline saved him. Then, during the financial crisis of 2008, when panic gripped the world and banks were failing, Buffett was a beacon of calm. He wrote an article in the New York Times titled, "By American, I Am." He invested billions in Goldman Sachs and General Electric, helping to stabilize the system. He was greedy when others were fearful, just as he had learned. And he made a fortune. In 2006, Warren Buffett made an announcement that stunned the world. He was going to give away almost all of his fortune. Not to his children, not to a university, but to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and other charities. He said, "I want to give my kids just enough so that they would feel they could do anything, but not so much that they would feel like doing nothing." He co-founded the Giving Pledge with Bill Gates, asking the world's wealthiest people to commit to giving away the majority of their money. In 2023, at the age of 93, his dear friend Charlie Munger passed away, just a month shy of his 100th birthday. It was a profound loss for Warren. He has often said that his relationship with Charlie was one of the great gifts of his life. Now in his 90s, Warren Buffett continues to lead Berkshire Hathaway, still reading, still thinking, and still following the same simple principles that a boy learned from a library book in Omaha so many decades ago. Now, what can we learn from the life and wisdom of Warren Buffett? First, the power of compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Buffett's fortune was not built overnight. He started saving as a child and let his money grow for over 80 years. Whether with money or with learning English, small, consistent efforts add up to incredible results over time. 10 minutes a day for 10 years is more powerful than 1 hour a day for 1 month. Start early and be consistent. Second, invest in what you understand. Buffett calls it staying in your circle of competence. He does not invest in technology companies he cannot predict. You do not need to know everything. Master the basics of English first. Understand the core vocabulary. Build your foundation strong before you chase complicated idioms and grammar. Know your limits and slowly expand your circle. Third, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. This is Buffett's most famous quote about the stock market. But it applies to life. When everyone around you is panicking, that is when you should be calm and look for opportunities. When everyone is celebrating and taking crazy risks, that is when you should be careful. In your language learning journey, there will be moments of frustration. That is your opportunity to buy shares in yourself at a discount. Fourth, it's good to be a bit boring. Warren Buffett lives in a simple house, drives an ordinary car, and eats at McDonald's. He avoids the wild excitement of Wall Street. He focuses on steady, predictable progress. The most successful English learners are often not the ones who try intense, crazy methods for a week. They are the ones who do a little bit every day, patiently, for years. Fifth, choose your heroes and partners wisely. Buffett always says that you will move in the direction of the people you associate with. He had Benjamin Graham as a mentor. He had Charlie Munger as a partner. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, kinder than you, and who push you to be better. Find a learning partner for your English. Talk to people who encourage you. Sixth, integrity is priceless. In the world of high finance, Warren Buffett's word is his bond. He does business with a handshake. His reputation for honesty is the most valuable asset he owns. One mistake can destroy a reputation that took a lifetime to build. Be honest in your efforts. Do not cheat on your learning. The best way to learn English is the honest way, with real practice, not shortcuts. And finally, love what you do. Buffett is in his 90s and he still tap dances to work. He says, take a job that you would take if you were independently wealthy. He found his passion in numbers and businesses, and it has never felt like work. If you can learn to love the process of learning English, if you can find joy in the small improvements, then you have already won. Warren Buffett once said, the best investment you can make is in yourself. Nobody can tax it or take it away. He also said, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. You are planting a tree right now by learning English. You are watering it every day with a little bit of practice. It may not look like much now, but years from now, you will be sitting in the shade of a magnificent tree, and you will be grateful to your younger self for having the patience and the vision to plant it. So keep reading. Keep compounding your knowledge. And remember the boy from Omaha who turned pennies into billions, simply by being patient, being honest, and reading everything he could get his hands on. Thank you for listening to this story. If it taught you something valuable, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this with a friend who wants to learn about money and life. And let me know in the comments, what is the best investment you have ever made in yourself? I read every comment. Until next time, keep learning, keep saving your knowledge, and watch the power of compound growth work its magic. Bye for now.